Good day and welcome back, students. Today we will discuss about the application of data types, variables, and constants in Tinkercad. What we will do is we'll try to apply them in an actual scenario wherein we will be using your variables, constants, and different data types in programming. So let's open this a blank Tinkercad circuit. Let's just wait. Since the internet is a little bit slow as of the moment, let's just wait. Okay. So first and foremost, let's try to look into our code. And this is the initial code that our Tinkercad is actually offering. So you have your pin code 13. So as you can see, there is no variables or data types that has been defined here. So this actually runs. Thus, we have no problem running it. But for the application of this data type variables and constant, we'll stop this simulation and we will modify this program. Now, as you can see, if you remember, we have this variable int, data type int rather. Let's try to edit this and type int here, int. And then we have a variable name. Let's have a variable led. Now, this variable led is actually a name wherein it is actually a storage, wherein the storage, the value that can store depends on the data type that you are now trying to save. Example, we have this led here, this led, and then you have your int. Pardon me for that. We have this led here. This is a variable, and this here, int here, is actually a data type. That is a data type. Now, what is the purpose for that? The purpose for that is we will assign a value for this LED so that we can change this LED value to this value here. Instead of putting 13 there, we will change that to LED. Likewise in here, LED, and then you have your LED there. Now the question now is, what is the value of LED? Thus, we can initialize the value of the LED. So let's assign a value of the LED which is equal to 13. Remember, our Arduino always ends with a semicolon. If we try to simulate this, as you can see, it will actually run still. Now, how do we know that it's running? We have this LED blinking here. If you remember it right, in our previous discussion, I have told you that the pin 13 is actually the default. The default LED is connected into it. So there's the pin 13. Let's stop simulation for a for a while. Now, let's change the circuit. Let's add an LED. Then you have your resistor. Let's change that resistor to 330 ohms. 330 ohms. And let's put that to 12. So change that to black. And then go back to our code. Now, initially, if we have not assigned a value to our LED before, if you remember it right, if we have removed this, and this is LED 13, and 13, if you have a lot of code in here, and you have changed that to pin 12, you have to change everything to pin 12. Not like assigning in a variable wherein you have already defined the variable that is changed into it. You have your pin 13 there. So in order for you to make this work, you have only to change the value of the LED variable into 12, and everything will now run smoothly as it is. It's because 12 is now assigned to this pin mode here, this 2 digital right here. Now, what about if let's add another variable here, a variable LED here, and then let's try put it that in pin 10 black, and let's change that to green. Then let's add another variable here, and let's say it to be green. So we have LED green is equal to, where did we put it? In pin 10. So therefore, we have to place 10 here, obviously. So 10. Don't forget your semicolon. And then we have to initialize our pin. So I just have copied and pasted. So now this is LED and this is LED. Of course, you have to copy that also. The variable name, LED green. You can copy and paste that or simply type it. And since we are all still using output here, output the part of your pin mode. And then our objective is to blink them all together. So all we have to do is copy this digital right high to digital right high still, but this time we have to copy the LED green there. Green. The same still, we have to copy this in order for our LED green to turn off. You have to change it to green. That's it. If it simulate this, they will blink all together at the same time. Now, how about if we do a constant? Let's add another LED here. This time, let's change it to blue. And put it in pin 8. Now, this time, let's make this variable to become constant. In our discussion of our constant, we have actually two types. You have your number define, and you have your word const int, and then let's name that as LED blue. Now we have to assign now a value here. Initial value. Now this is not an initial value rather, but this is now the value all throughout because it is word constant. Therefore, we have to place it there. Now what is the purpose of this again? Meaning, this lead blue cannot be changed, and we will try to experiment that later so that you will be able to know if an error is being done by changing the value of a constant value. Now, I'm making again the pin mode for the blue LED. The same process what we have been doing so far for the high and then the low. So instead of LED green, LED blue this time, and then we will simulate it. And of course, we are now blinking 3 of them simultaneously. Now, what if I add another green here, another green variable, green LED here, and then I'm gonna put it to pin 6, changing it to green. Now going to our code. Now, if you try to look at this, I initiated the LED green to be 10. Now, if I change this to 6, it is obviously that one of our LED that is connected to pin 10 is already erased. It is not already initialized. Therefore, if we run this, it is expected that this LED connected to pin 10 will not light anymore. Now, the purpose of this experiment is for you to see that in a variable, you can normally change the value of the variables. You can change the value of the variables whenever you want it. However, if you try to change the value of constant, now as you can see here, LED blue is initialized as constant. Let's change it to pin 10 so that this actually blue here will not light in our understanding, but this should be the one lighting if we execute this, if we start simulating this. However, as you can see, we encounter an error. It's because this does not, the changing value of the constant is not permitted. So you encounter a problem here. If we look into it, there is an error assignment of read-only variable LED blue. As you can see, it states there read only, meaning it cannot be changed. So if we remove this, or instead of removing this, I will just comment it out by doing double slash, and then you can start simulating it again and it runs perfectly. Thus, that is our lesson for today. Let's have a recap on what we have learned. We have discussed variables, LED here, variable. We also discussed the data type. We also discussed the word constant for our constant values, or you can also make use of the number define. Also change that number define lead blue to 8, and actually do that. Now take note, there is no more int there. There is no more int. All you have to do is define lead blue is equal to 8. You can actually do that. And then we have did some comments. And then we added multiple variables and use them in our programs. By the way, you can also create another variable, let's say int my delay. The same procedure, and then you put the my delay value here, and then so that you will be able to change the delay value of that into whatever value that you would want. So students, that's for today. If you have questions or comments, list them down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have learned something today. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.